Well, how about another Doctor Who video? I mean, why not? Yes, Doctor Who, the original series, began in 1963 and came to an end in 1989. There was always rumors about a revival. In 96, there was a TV movie put on by Fox and starring Paul McGann as the character. But it was going to be like a pilot, hopefully, for a new series, but it just didn't happen. And it's probably just as well. I don't know. Just because I am an American doesn't mean I need to have an American-controlled Doctor Who. I'm not quite certain that would be all that great. But after that, there wasn't a whole lot going on. And then finally, in 2005, the TV show came back. And this time to be played by Christopher Eccleston. There's a lot of unanswered questions and mysteries whirling around all kinds of programs and movies and whatnot, and Doctor Who's no different. And one of the ones that always befuddled me was why Christopher Eccleston only did one season, or series as the British call it. And so that's about 13 episodes, I think, that he did, and then the character regenerates, of course, and David Tennant took on, which David Tennant actually went on to become the most popular of this new series. I guess he's kind of like the Tom Baker of this one. And unfortunately, the same effect that Tom Baker's departure seems to be having the same effect to Doctor Who at the moment, because after Tennant, the series kind of spiraled down and doesn't seem to be able to recover despite the best efforts of Tennant's successors. I mean, in my opinion, Peter Capaldi is the best of these new Doctors, but the stories he got were very weak and really shoddy stuff, and that's not his fault, but that's the way it goes, and it's just a missed opportunity and a wasted talent here, and it's sad. But Christopher Eccleston, I always wondered, boy, what did they do to piss him off, because I had to think that maybe it was that. The only two options was that, yes, he was mad with the production or the studio or what have you, or he just didn't want to be stuck to a commitment like that. The average tends to be that you do three years or 3 seasons or 3 series here, and then you go. And that tends to be the rule of thumb for most of them. Tom Baker being the longest one, but I believe John Pertwee did 5 years. So that's pretty much been how it's played out here, especially with the new guys. But for Eccleston, he just wanted to leave. Well, now we're getting more and more details for why he left the job, and this was in an interview recently with the Radio Times, where he said, "Look, my relationship with his superiors at the show, and this includes the showrunner, which was Russell T Davies, who is held chiefly responsible for getting the show back and off and running." And most of the stories are either overseen for him or outright written by him in total. And so the fact that he didn't get along with Russell T Davies, that's a huge problem. So he doesn't exactly spell out what the argument was, but he at one point he blames himself and that he didn't feel competent enough or lacking the confidence to take on this role because he wasn't really a comedic actor. And of course, the Doctor has a lot of eccentricities within the character, and there's different variations from actor to actor, but it's always there. And so he would have expected more comedic personality traits to come through for the character, and it wasn't the type of character that he felt comfortable with. Is what it seems to be what he's saying here. And but I mean, look, pal, you're an actor. You learn to become this guy, and for the most part, I thought he did all right. I just didn't think there was enough there for me to judge him as all that great of a Doctor. He didn't bother me so much. But when I rank the new actors, he's always at the bottom. But that's not exactly fair to him because, well, he only did those few episodes, so I don't know how to judge it. That being said, Paul McGann's Doctor, I wish I could see more. Even though he only did the one TV movie. But there's since been these audio adventures he's done, which are really good. And I enjoyed the little segment he got to do for the 50th anniversary special, which was an online deal. But when you get the Blu-ray or what have you, it's part of it. And Night of the Doctor, it was called. It just showed that, man, I wish this guy could come back. Or there was a spin-off series of his adventures and stuff. Well, that would cost too much money, so we're not going to get that, but it's too bad. But you got the Big Finish audio adventures, and that's good enough for you. But Eccleston, so he didn't get along with, so that's what it appears to be. There was some sort of arguing about, he doesn't really go into details about scripts or whatnot. I often wondered if maybe he thought, look, this isn't Doctor Who to me, or something like that, which I would have agreed with him. But I'm not quite certain on what made him actually decide, I'm out, I don't want to do this. Part of this says that he felt that the BBC wanted him out, that they didn't feel that he was their guy, that they weren't happy with his performance or whatnot, and maybe somebody wanted Tennant already. I don't know how that works, and maybe that's what he felt like what happened. But so he did. He leaves, and he said he wouldn't say or release any statements, and he didn't. He didn't say anything about it, and there was no official statement. The only official statement was that BBC said, oh, well, he wanted to move on because he didn't want to be typecast, which he says was not true, and he was a bit upset that they would do that, and basically lie about what the reasons were. But of course, they didn't want to say what it really, oh, well, there was all this arguing and stuff, and he didn't get along with everybody and all that, what have you. But he later claims that he got blacklisted. He couldn't get work because of the BBC. They didn't like him, and there was a lot of people, oh, you don't want to hear that guy. And that's when he ended up in America doing all kinds of stuff, G.I. Joe and the Thor movie, which he was not very fond of. But you got to pay the bills, so that's what he ended up having to do. Obviously, I thought, oh boy, he's really mad at it. And then what confirmed it was the 50th anniversary special, where Moffat, who was the showrunner then, which I don't know that Eccleston had any dealings with him at all. Maybe he did, because Moffat was one of the writers at the time under Davies. But the time came, and he said, hey, could you come in and, reprise the role for the purposes of the 50th anniversary, which probably wouldn't have been a whole lot of time on the set doing it. But Eccleston just flat out said no. He's just not going back, I guess, and he was still sore at what happened, probably compounded, no doubt, by the BBC apparently blacklisting him. So it was interesting because Moffat, after his time was done and he was giving these interviews, what I suspected what happened is that he went into panic mode when he thought, surely I can get Eccleston to come in and just do some scenes. It wouldn't be much of a commitment. And he flat out said no, and so he was stuck not knowing what to do, and so he turns to John Hurt, and they managed to do that and come up with this idea. Unfortunately, that really devastated the continuity of Doctor Who in a lot of ways, and everybody can praise it and all that like it was brilliant. No, it was a slap job response to something he wasn't expecting to happen, and it's too bad. John Hurt's a fine actor. He's a great guy. Unfortunately, he passed away. But he'll always be Caligula to me from I, Claudius, which is a fantastic production. You need to look into that if you haven't seen it. But that doesn't necessarily go well for established continuity, and especially when you look at some of those Matt Smith episodes. He still had the ability to regenerate, and suddenly he doesn't. Yeah, that's a problem. Was not well thought out, but he was stuck because he admits within days he had to hurry up and rewrite it for the War Doctor because he couldn't have the Ninth Doctor in it. And for a cancer charity drive, he released the script so you can purchase it, and there's some leaked lines of it. And the scenes are very similar to what you saw with the War Doctor, but it was done in the voice of the Ninth Doctor, and even seemed to suggested that he had just recently regenerated from Paul McGann. The strange thing about that was, Moffat was in a bit of a problem there, but boy, if only there'd been some other actor that could have played that's right, Paul McGann. I mean, you managed to get him to do the little prequel segment there, the mini episode online, but for some reason, you just couldn't get him. And he gave some idiot line about, I couldn't see him as the War Doctor. That's nonsense. So that leaves another mystery as to why Paul McGann couldn't have been utilized for the special to maintain the continuity and lineup of the Doctors for the regenerations. Because remember, they only have 12, and now they've introduced that he can do it forever. Yeah, but that was an established cycle. So you needed to explain it, and here he just throws that in without really caring overall continuity and what is, desperate and lazy and pretty silly. But all in all, you got the story and everything. It worked out, but I mean, it damages overall continuity going forward. But maybe somebody smarter can fix that later. But yeah, why not Paul McGann? So then I wonder, boy, is there problems with Paul McGann behind the scenes, at least with the Doctor Who people? I don't know. But mysteries abound here, because that seemed like the obvious solution. Unless they didn't like him, there was some kind of soap opera going on behind the scenes there, or McGann just was not available at the time to shoot that much longer. That's a little harder to take since he did shoot the prequel scenes. So I don't know what to make of that. It's still quite the mystery, but we've got a clear view of why Eccleston only did the one season, and well, they just did not get along, and I guess we'll never see the likes of Eccleston as Doctor Who again. It's sad, but well, there it is. So thanks for listening and watching, and do check out in the description below the links that lead to my stores, which have several goodies for you. Say, friends, check out Nailsin Theater at sellfy.com/Nailsin. Yes, there you'll find my poor man Mystery Science Theater treatment of public domain movies that really deserve the treatment. Yes, you can head over there and check out the links to my trailers to such films on my YouTube channel. Yeah, you can preview them and then head over back to sellfy.com/Nailsin and purchase yourself some Mr. Nailsin treatments of movies. I'll be right there to guide you through it.